How Tim Cook has grown the Apple empire in his decade as CEO. New York scene business. When Tim Cook took over as chief executive of Apple, it was a corporate transition unlike any other. He stepped out from the shadow of one of the best known American CEOs and took the reins of one of the world's biggest tech companies, facing some uncertainty about how much more successful it could be. 10 years into the job, Cook now leads the most vulnerable companies in the world, technology or otherwise, and it remains among the most influential, and more than a billion people worldwide use its devices, and tens of millions of developers have built businesses on its software platform. Cook took over as CEO from Steve Jobs on August 24, 2011, less than 2 months before the Apple founder passed away. Since then, Apple's AAPL market capitalization has grown around 600% to nearly $2.5 trillion, and its annual revenue has more than doubled. If Jobs was known for his ability to create groundbreaking devices that redefined consumers' experience of technology, Cook may come to be known for expanding the Apple's ecosystem, building a suite of subscription services and other hardware products that complement the core iPhone business Jobs launched. Under Cook, Apple has gone from a premium device maker to a massive, multifaceted company, with business ranging from payment services to an Oscar nominated TV and film production studio. He has overseen the acquisition of more than 100 companies, including the $3 billion Beats purchase in 2014 and $1 billion acquisition of Intel's smartphone modern business in 2019. Inside Apple, Cook inherited a company culture known for being relentlessly demanding, and he is now managing at a time where tech workers have been increasingly vocal about social issues. Cook himself, who in 2014 became one of the first leading CEO to become out as gay, has been involved in LGBTQ plus rights advocacy. Cook has also been at the helm for major corporate missteps such as Batterygate and allegations of poor labor conditions at its suppliers' factories. A recent announcement around a new child protection initiative also turned into an unexpected PR nightmare, and he has navigated a host of external threats to Apple's business over the years, including recently feuds with the Trump administration, the US-China trade wars, and COVID-19 pandemic. What Cook hasn't done is launch another product as successful and disruptive as the iPhone, but he has found ways to keep Apple going without that. It's possibly the most successful handoff from strength to strength in corporate history. Mike Bailey, director of research at FBB Capital Partners, said of the transition from Jobs to Cook, Apple frankly needed a cheerleader and a politician, possibly more than a micromanaging, stressed out founder. Bailey added, "You are maintaining the empire as opposed to building one." Apple's growth continues. Both Apple's annual revenue and market capitalization have ballooned in 10 years since the Tim Cook took over as CEO, growing 154% and 601% respectively. The growth of services. A month after taking over as CEO, Cook announced the launch of the iPhone 4S. Since then, Apple has released nearly 2 dozen more versions of iPhone at a wider range of price points, along with new generations of iPad, Mac, and MacBook. Cook also overseen the introduction of new hardware products, most successfully the Apple Watch in 2015 and AirPods in 2016. But even more important, the new devices brought to life under this leadership is the growth of Apple's services business. From a hardware standpoint, I think you can make the argument that it has been more iterative than revolutionary, but I think that diminish his contributions to the company, said D.A. Davidson, analyst Tom Forte, adding that Cook expanded the notion of what Apple is. He said, what can Apple be? Apple can be a music subscription service, Apple can be a fitness subscription service, Apple can be much more than Apple Store. Even in the past 5 years, his tenure, Apple was making meaningful revenue from its service division, which included products such as iCloud, which launched in October 2011, Apple Podcast, which launched in 2012, Apple Music, which launched in 2015. In January 2016, Apple revealed for first time that it had generated $20 billion in services sales in the previous year. Since then, Apple has launched even more services, including Apple Arcade, Apple TV Plus, Apple Fitness Plus, along with the subscription bundle, which have further boosted the business. In 2020 fiscal year, the Apple generated $53.8 billion in service revenue, accounting for around 20% of the company's total sale. Apple doesn't break out sales for individual services. Apple's focus on services has allowed to be less reliant on iPhone sales, which can be volatile from quarter to quarter and have begun to plateau, even dipping at times under Cook. A key focus for Cook has been offsetting that slowing iPhone growth. He kept the iPhone party going, but solved a boom-bust problem by exploding their service business, FBB's Bailey said. Apple still brings in hordes of cash each year from iPhone sales, but now it has the more consistent higher margin profits from subscription services to act as a buffer as customers hold onto their devices for longer. Services also give consumers yet more reasons to choose Apple hardware over others and helps the company eke out more dollars from each person that buys one of its. Global iPhone users skyrocket. In the decade since Tim Cook took over as Apple's CEO, the iPhone's global installed base, which is a measure of active device users, has grown more than 640% from estimated 135 million to around 1 billion. What is next? Cook has already said he doesn't plan to be at Apple in another 10 years, but most followers of the company expect him to stick around for at least a few more. In that time, he will have plenty on his plate that could shape the future of the company, including the long-rumored release of an Apple car and AR glasses, as well as its continued efforts to build its own chips for its devices. But he'll also face major challenges, including Apple's current antitrust fight with app developers and regulators. Forte also questioned whether Apple will be able to maintain its leadership position if the growth in Internet of Things devices means consumers become less reliant on smartphones. Apple has yet to gain the same tractions in connected home devices as Amazon's Alexa and earlier this year killed off its original HomePod in favor of its cheaper mini versions. An argument can be made that they are still heavily dependent on iPhone, Forte said. I'm still trying to envision what the future looks like and what happens when the smartphone is no longer the center of the universe. Under Coke, Apple has been working to address its impact on environment and cooling plans to become carbon neutral by 2030. But given that the company is dependent on a complex global supply chain and non-renewable rare earth metals to build its products, Coke will likely have to push the company's efforts further in the coming years as climate change poses an increasingly existential threat. Then there is the question of who will take over leadership. Took over leading world's biggest company. When Coke does step down, Jeff Williams, Apple's current chief operating officer, who has been dubbed Tim Cook's Tim Cook in tech press, would be an obvious choice if he were taking over now. But at just 2 years younger than Cook, their succession plan could be more questionable in even a few years, Bailey said. It doesn't look like there's another insider number two ready to go, so I do think that that's something Apple's going to have to start to address over the next 2 years, he said.